All right, good morning. So, how you guys doing? Hope you're doing good. Today is, what is today? The 25th? It's Thursday the 25th. The cats are upstairs. Our friendly little cats. So, hopefully they don't cause a ruckus. They probably will, but you guys are used to that by now. And today we're going to be in the second half of Psalm 17. And so yesterday we looked at how when David was feeling the pressures of life, of his enemies, that he would lean into the covenant love of God, and we talked about the Hesed love of God. And so today we're going to see the protection of God, the other side of his covenant, of his kingship, and the way that he protects us. And there was a particular thing that jumped out at me from this passage, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in, and we will see where it takes us. So it says, "They close up their callous hearts, and their mouths speak with arrogance. They have tracked me down, they surround me, they are with eyes alert to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion hungry for prey, like a fierce lion crouching in cover. Rise up, Lord, confront them, bring them down. With your sword rescue me from the wicked. By your hand save me from such people, Lord, from those of this world whose reward is in this life. May what you have stored up for the wicked fill their bellies, may their children gorge themselves on it, and may there be leftovers for their little ones. But as for me, I will be vindicated and will see your face, and when I awake I will be satisfied with seeing your likeness." And so David, he feels surrounded. He feels as if there is no way out in this situation, and he's leaning into God's protection. He's leaning into God's his Hesed love, like we talked about. But here he turns his heart to not simply God, just not only protect me, but not only defend me, but attack for me, fight for me. And he has some kind of harsh things to say, to be quite honest, about his enemies and about their children. And I mean, at the end of the day, he's still a bit of a savage, to use a modern term, kid term. But what caught my attention this morning was from verse 13. He says, "Rise up, Lord, confront them, bring them down. With your sword rescue me from the wicked." And so David is relying on the protection of God, and he asks God to protect him with his sword. Now, the reason this caught my attention is because the Apostle Paul in Ephesians, he is speaking about spiritual warfare in Ephesians 6, and he's speaking about wearing the armor of God, and how we are to dress ourselves in the armor of God. And he's using a metaphor from Roman military garb, uniforms. But in verse 17 of Ephesians 6, he says, "Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God." See, the enemy, he operates in lies. The way that the enemy operates, the way the enemy tries to attack us, the way the enemy tries to tear us down, is through lies. And David in this psalm says, "Protect me with your sword." And Paul in Ephesians says that the sword of the Lord is the sword of the Spirit, which is actually his word, what he says about us. And so there's two ways to think about the word of God. There's obviously the written word, which is the Bible, the scriptures, the truth that we've been given, handed down to guide us as we journey in faith. And yet at the same time, there's also the living word, or the spoken word, the word that resides in us and that we hear on a day-to-day basis from God. And that the two work together to protect us by revealing to us the truth about who we are and about our circumstances and situations. See, the enemy wants to lie to us about who we are. And the three fundamental lies that he presents to us is one, that we'll never have enough. That I don't have enough money to pay my bills. I don't have enough money to feed my children or to get ahead in this world. That I don't have enough. And it's rooted in fear, and it's rooted in lack. And the lie is that the Father isn't good, and that he doesn't have abundance for us. The second lie that the enemy operates in is that I will never be enough. And that's essentially rooted in shame. That God's not gracious, that he doesn't accept me for who I am. And so he lies to us about our identity. He lies to us that God would never accept us, love us, care for us. And then the third lie is that I will never accomplish enough. And this lie is rooted in guilt, because we fall for the lie of that we have to somehow earn our way. And if I can just simply accomplish enough stuff, well, then maybe God would accept me or something like that. And instead of listening to the truth of God and what he says about us, we fall for the lies. The truth of the scriptures is that we simply have to receive our identity from him. But the lie that we fall for is that we have to build our image to earn an identity. And so David says here that when the enemy is attacking us, and obviously he's speaking about real life fight, war, but you and I are in a different type of a war. But the principles are still the same. When we find ourselves in the battle, we have to rely on the Word of God, the sword of the Spirit, to protect us, that God will protect us with his sword. And the way that he does that is by speaking the truth about who we are into our lives. Jesus said that man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Essentially what Jesus is saying here, as he's being tempted, as he's being lied to about who he is and about who God is by the enemy and his temptation. What he's saying is that life is only found in the truth of who God says that we are and who God says that he is. And you and I know who the truth is, because the truth is a person, the truth is Jesus. And he shows us what God is like. He shows us that we're in good hands. He shows us that we are accepted, not because of what we have done, but simply because of the grace and the invitation. And so when we are being confronted by the lies, when we are being bombarded by the lies of the enemy, we have to allow for God to fight for us with his sword, with his truth, as he speaks into our lives, as he speaks into our identity. And so maybe that be an encouragement for you today. Maybe you're in a battle. Maybe there are lies that are being spoken against you. Maybe it's the lies in your own head of who the enemy or people, your parents, other things. People say things about us all the time, and we carry that stuff around. It sticks. So may the truth of God today set you free. May you begin to hear his voice and what he has to say. And so, blessings to you guys. Hope you have a great day, and we will pick up again tomorrow in Psalm 18. So blessings, love you, bye.